Thanks for joining us on Spectrum News 1. I'm Rob Wu. We kick off things with a check of the forecast. Let's head now over to the Weather Center.
Thanks again, Rob. Welcome back, everyone. Coming up on 5:01, the view from our roof cam here at Spectrum News 1, looking off to the north and east at a lot of cloud cover. Storm tracker Doppler radar, well, for the first time in a long time, no severe thunderstorm warnings in play right now. That is good to see. Now, we are watching more storms off to our north and west that could impact our area later on this afternoon and this evening. This was one storm that was severe. It has weakened, but still producing moderate rainfall, a cloud to ground lightning, maybe some gusty winds across northern sections of Wayne County and the western sections of Pitt County. We move over toward Dare County. This storm also was classified as severe earlier. That warning dropped at 5 o'clock, by the way. Still a bit of cloud to ground lightning around the Kill Devil Hills, Kitty Hawk area right now with some moderate rainfall and maybe a little wind, and definitely a lot of lightning right here on the Pender-Duplin County line just to the east of Wallace and east of I-40 with that thunderstorm cell coming together there that is moving, by the way, toward Onslow County. Temperatures 70s north, 90s south, a few 80s in between. Our forecast for central North Carolina calling for that storm threat to wrap up this evening, mostly cloudy overnight. More storms tomorrow with highs in the 90s. Eastern North Carolina, same deal. Storm chances will wrap up later this evening, mostly cloudy overnight. Additional storm chances on the way for Wednesday afternoon. In many areas will see highs near 90.
Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday evening. I'm Rob Wu.
And I'm Siobhan Riley. It's a rare July election day across our state.
Yes, the municipal elections happening today will impact entire cities, no matter how many people show up to the polls. One of the races we're tracking is the mayoral race in the All-American City. Our Spectrum News 1 political reporter, Mary Helen Jones, joins us live now from Fayetteville with a look at the race to lead the city. Mary Helen.
Good evening. There is an important race on the ballot today here in Fayetteville. That's the mayoral race, and it could come down to just a few votes, maybe even a few dozen. People inside this polling location say they've only seen about 80 people come through so far today. This race is between mayor incumbent Mitch Colvin and Freddie De La Cruz. In the primary election in May, Mayor Colvin got over 60% of the vote, around 64%. De La Cruz got the second highest number of votes, around 14%. Mayor Colvin is in his second term here as mayor. Before that, he served on the city council. He has focused this campaign on workforce, on diversifying and growing the workforce, as well as investing in infrastructure around Fayetteville. De La Cruz is an Army veteran. He's also a local business owner. He describes himself as a conservative, a constitutionalist, a capitalist. He says that he is focused in this campaign on public safety. Like I mentioned earlier, in that primary, Mayor Colvin was able to get over 60% of the vote. So we'll have to see if he was able to rally supporters to come out, vote for him today. We, like I said, haven't seen that many voters come out, but if he could hold on to that majority, or we'll have to wait and see if De La Cruz was able to rally a new majority of voters to put him in the mayoral office. Still a few hours away from the polls closing, but we will be here in Fayetteville through the night giving you updates on this race. But for now, I'm Mary Helen Jones reporting live in Fayetteville for Spectrum News 1.
And the weather looks to be holding up right now in Fayetteville. Mary Helen, thanks. About 94 miles away, a mayoral race also happening today in Greensboro. Our Spectrum News 1 reporter Noelle Latchley joins us live now. Noelle, we've been dealing with storms in the afternoon. Has it had an impact on voters?
You know, I have been dodging those thunderstorms throughout the day as I've been covering this election, and these voters have had to deal with that as well. But part of having an election in late July is dealing with these summer storms. So let's talk about the timing of this a bit. Our municipal elections are happening now because a combination of factors delayed the 2020 census population count and the redistricting that happens every decade based on those numbers. Now, I've heard some concerns over how the strange timing of this is going to affect voter turnout. So I checked in with the Board of Elections, and they told me the early voter turnout for Greensboro was actually higher than they thought it was going to be. I also spoke with Mayor Nancy Vaughn and her challenger, Justin Outling, earlier today, and both of them told me their eyes are on jobs, economic development, and public safety in the city.
To build on the successes that we've had, which will be to make sure that these tremendous job announcements that we have, that it will be residents of Greensboro and Guilford County who are the recipients of those. We have job training in place, we have transportation in place.
Greensboro has, of all the major cities, the lowest per capita income, the highest levels of violent crime, the worst police response times. We can do so much better with not only vision, but more effective leadership.
Now, despite the weather, both candidates are hoping for a strong voter turnout today, and you can cast your vote at polling locations around the city until 7:30 tonight. And of course, we will be live throughout the evening to bring you those results as they come in. But for now, reporting live in Greensboro, I'm Noelle Lashley, Spectrum News 1.
Thank you, Noelle, for keeping us updated. Reminder, polls close at 7:30.
Yeah, and if you're in line by 7:30 but haven't voted yet because things are moving slowly, don't leave. You can cast that ballot as long as you get in line by 7:30.
Stay tuned for Spectrum News 1 for your local election coverage. We'll have live updates after polls close tonight, starting at 8 o'clock.
And you can keep track of the results here online at SpectrumLocalNews.com or with our Spectrum News app. It's available to download wherever you find your apps.
President Joe Biden is back to his regular exercise routine as his COVID-19 symptoms almost are completely cleared up. That's according to an update from his personal physician Tuesday. Dr. Kevin O'Connor also says President Biden completed his course of Paxlovid. The president is finishing up the CDC required 5-day isolation period, but won't restart in-person events until he tests negative.
Discussing the future of COVID vaccines in North Carolina and across the station. Our state health secretary Cody Kinsley was part of a White House summit on this topic today. One area of discussion, vaccine equity. Kinsley says North Carolina in particular has excelled in making sure everyone has access to it. But he also says the work is far from over.
We closed the gap as far as vaccinating on par in our Latinx community, our Hispanic community, and we nearly closed the gap in our Black African American community and did close it in several age groups. We have more to go. I mean, I think the challenge we're facing, and I'm excited to talk about today, is that our health system has a long history of inequity. And when you say you have a big problem, you need to move really fast, it's not going to get better. And so we have to make it a priority.
Right now in our state, 62% of the total population has received the initial series. 58% has received at least one booster shot. Now, another panel of experts was also at the White House, including Dr. Anthony Fauci. They were there to discuss the importance of improving the effectiveness and the longevity of the shots. They say as the virus continues to evolve, so must the approach to combating it. But it'll take money from Congress to do so.
The cost of major investment of research pales in comparison to the cost of a pandemic.
Across the country, about 600 million doses of COVID vaccines have been administered. Well, North Carolina is setting the example for infrastructure across the nation.
Wilmington is hosting a conference on energy and infrastructure resilience this week. It brings together staff of state governors from across the country to learn about North Carolina's work to make more robust infrastructure that can stand up to storms.
Governor Roy Cooper spoke today about how our state collaborated with different agencies to find solutions that work for everyone.
And we've established the interagency resilience team. We've established a resilient communities program. And we publicized a North Carolina natural and working lands action plan to focus on nature-based solutions and natural infrastructure to increase our resilience.
Still to come, pushing for stricter safety measures on Camorris.
Even after the EPA cracks down on health standards, some say more needs to be done to protect North Carolinians from forever chemicals in our water. Plus,
what was done to many of these children is abhorrent.
For decades, Native American children in the United States attended Indian boarding school. Some of them never returned home.
Later this hour in part 2 of our special report, how the effects of the schools linger decades later, and a look at the federal investigation that's currently underway.
Welcome back to Spectrum News 1. I'm Siobhan Riley.
And I'm Rob Wu.
You know, we are tracking storms tonight in the area. This is the result of heavy rain and winds moving in the area. Just a couple of hours ago, a tree down on Ebenezer Church Road in Raleigh.
Looks like it'll take a little bit of time to clear up. Now a live look at Carolina Beach. The coast also in for some of the rain the central part of the state is seeing later this evening, but for now, conditions on the beach look to be holding up. Let's bring in our chief meteorologist, Gary Stevenson, now from the Weather Center as we track the latest. Now, when I saw Gary a little bit earlier, Siobhan,
yeah,
no suit.
you're right.
Sleeves rolled up. I was like, warning signs. But Gary, I see the suit's on, sleeves rolled down. Are you feing better about things?
I think so.
I'm not really feeling better about things. We just don't have a warning in effect right now, so I don't have an excuse to have my jacket off with my sleeves rolled up.
Oh,
but
okay.
we do have some nasty storms out there right now, and we'll show you those on the radar in just a second. But yeah, it was a stormy afternoon across North Carolina, and guess what? More storms on the way for this evening and for tomorrow as well. Let's head over to the weather wall, and overall, yeah, we've seen storms with strong gusty winds, hence the video that was just shown of the tree down around Umstead Park. Heavy rainfall, cloud to ground lightning with some of these storms. This is the activity around East Carolina University. The weather sim camera there looking to the south and west, showing you those stormy skies in Greenville right now. Storm tracker Doppler radar rolls into motion. Again, no warnings in effect for our region right now. We've got what was severe storms making their way across parts of Wayne County, moving toward Pitt County. Also a decent little storm right here coming out of Pender County, crossing sections of southeastern Duplin County, and it's going to clip Onslow County. And we're also watching what was a severe storm making its way off the coast of the Outer Banks right now. We zoom in a tad bit closer. Greenville, your rain more than likely picking up a little in the future. Goldsboro looks like you may get just a little bit of rain, but it's northern Wayne County that sees the bulk of that storm. We move to the Outer Banks. That storm that impacted Dare County making its way off the Outer Banks right now. And as we drop to the south, Jacksonville, Camp Lejeune right here, this storm may end up clipping that area of Onslow County if it moves just far enough to the east. But it's throwing out some moderate rainfall and a bit of cloud to ground lightning. Nothing classified as severe. Good news. 70s to the north, 90s to the south, and some 80s in between. As far as our surface map, that shower and thunder threat will back off as we work our way through the evening hours. We're mostly cloudy overnight. Tomorrow afternoon, additional chances for some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Those die out tomorrow evening. And then on Thursday, a lesser chance of showers and thunder with hot, humid conditions. So for tonight, area-wide, we're dropping back mainly into the 70s. Storm chances wrap up this evening, and then we're mostly cloudy through the night. For tomorrow, most of us in the low and mid 90s for highs, partly cloudy skies with additional late-day showers and thunder. 3-day forecast, central North Carolina, lesser chance of storms on Thursday, better chance on Friday. Same deal with eastern North Carolina, lesser chance of storms on Thursday, slightly better chance on Friday. Do the storm chances continue into the weekend? We discuss that in less than 10 minutes. Back over to you.
The principal of Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, has been placed on administrative leave following the mass shooting. This comes after a legislative committee blamed Mandy Gutierrez and an assistant for not fixing a lock to a classroom they knew wasn't working. It was the same classroom where the shooting took place. The district school board has also postponed the start of the school year for 3 weeks, so classrooms and other resources can be replaced.
The EPA recently announced stricter health standards for Gen X's impact on drinking water. Gen X is part of a large group of synthetic chemical compounds, sometimes known as forever chemicals.
And some people are worried about the chemicals' impact on their health. Our Spectrum News 1 reporter Victoria Reslow talked to a man in Fayetteville who's still pushing for even stricter measures.
You know, there's different types.
Mike Waters has always loved gardening.
I was raised originally in Idaho, and growing up, we always had gardens.
So creating his own was important to him.
Banana peppers, I've been waiting for those to grow.
But for a long time,
See, I know they're safe.
he had to use bottled water on these plants
That was a nice tomato.
because his water was contaminated.
I know what my blood looks like. I'm unique because I've joined everything I could test. My wife's tested, and I've got astronomical levels of PFAS, PFOA. There's 9 chemicals in my blood.
It was summer 2017 when thousands of people in North Carolina learned that Gen X had infiltrated public drinking water supplies all along the Cape Fear River Basin into Wilmington. The contamination creating problems for veterans like Waters, who lives just over a mile from the Chemours Fayetteville Works chemical plant.
23 years in Special Forces. The enemy couldn't kill me, but my water is.
His well water was tested by Chemours, DEQ, and an additional lab he hired.
I want that tomato.
The results showing more than a dozen PFAS in his water. He thinks the chemicals not only impact his plants, but his health.
Since I moved out here, health has declined rapidly. Liver, kidneys, triglycerides, cholesterol, diabetes, you name it.
Since contamination,
this is a state monitoring site.
DEQ installed this air quality monitoring station on his land.
The little device there is to capture how much rainwater came down in a given period.
It measures how many PFAS are in the air and the rainwater.
They're testing for 42 chemicals.
Chemours also paid for Waters to get this water filtration system put in on his well, called a granular activated carbon system, or GAC.
And this is what everybody that qualifies at the new 10 part per trillion EPA health advisory, provided it doesn't get shot down in court, would get. It basically filters iron and then filters the water, and it works.
Waters GAC was finished earlier this month. It's a system more people will now get because of the EPA's stricter standards. The EPA's new limit for Gen X in drinking water is 10 parts per trillion. That's 14 times lower than the limit the state first set at 140 parts per trillion back in 2018. But even with the new standards for Gen X, Waters is still concerned.
What about the other 14 chemicals that are in the well? You contaminated our vegetation, our ground for decades. We have no idea how long it'll take for this to go away. Will it be like Chernobyl? Probably.
Congress has a long list of items they want to tackle before their August recess.
We'll take a closer look at what's on the agenda, including a move to guarantee marriage equality. That story and more when we come back from this quick break.